Welcome back to Confessions of a Multi-Hyphenate, your weekly bite-sized podcast dedicated to affirming and empowering those of us who have many skills, talents, and abilities. Pretty much, we have to learn how to navigate this life. I'm your host, Crystal Henry, a multi-hyphenate, living this life right along with you. So let's get started. Episode 1, Jack of all trades, master of everything. This is how we are going to be learning how to navigate life with multiple interests. There is a quote that I grew up hearing, and people still say it, that somebody can be a Jack or even a Jane of all trades. But there is a full quote to this. Before we get to that, I had to do some research. Where did this quote actually come from? Believe it or not, this quote was used to first refer to the one and only William Shakespeare. Yes, it was. And it was all because he was somebody who followed people around in the theater. He would remember the actors' lines. He would try his hand at directing. He would do things with the set and costumes. And he would always be hanging around the theater. So he became a jack of all trades. It wasn't until later on that that more like the middle of that phrase was added on to be a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And then you keep on going. And then it was the end of that. A jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. So that's where we get that from. And as a multi-hyphenate, when we are thinking about how to navigate life with multiple interests, somebody might refer to you as a jack or a jane of all trades. And that might feel like a dig, but believe it or not, it is not a bad thing. Because people might think it is, but it really is not. We're not generalists. We are people who, again, know a lot about a lot and do a lot with what it is that we have. I did have to go down the research hole on this one and came across this article in Forbes that directly talked about this multi-hyphenate life. I happen to agree with the author of this article, and what she talked about was that it's kind of like two schools of thought. You can either be somebody who is a real specialist, where you drill down and learning more and more and more about a particular craft, and that's not a bad thing at all. Then there's the opposite, or maybe on the flip side of that, is somebody who could be described as an enthusiast, a layperson. Here we go again, a jack of all trades, or as we know them, as we are calling them, a multi-hyphenate. This author said that being a multi-hyphenate is opening up the doorway for additional self-discovery. It allows you to learn your strengths and your weaknesses very quickly. Because if you're trying out multiple things, then you quickly learn, I do this well, but I don't do that well. I enjoy doing this, but I need more practice with this, or I completely hate doing this. I never, ever want to do it again. It gives you that experience on the front end, sometimes before you really do need to commit to something. And if you need to push something into more of a hobby category, you have free reign to be able to do that. One of the quotes from the article says, knowledge across many areas can combine to create well-rounded experts. That's who I'm surrounded by. People who know a whole lot and who do a whole lot with what it is that they know and what it is that they are skilled in being able to do. It allows you to be more flexible in your life and in your career. Nobody wants to be inflexible. We also, I kind of think about it as that Gumby character that you want to be able to mold and to fit into different things that you like to do. This isn't about adopting somebody else's ideas or even ideals for you. It is more about adapting to what you like to do and being flexible with that. Because if you only stick to one thing, trust me, boredom is going to come and burnout is soon to follow. I have been there multiple times, and thankfully I'm not there in the moment. But it can make you an ideal job candidate. I know that there's lots of people who are in this multi-hyphenate space who are either re-entering the corporate job scene or even creative job world, or who are currently in it, but it can make you an ideal employee, an ideal candidate, because you have done a lot with a lot of things. You're able to add to the richness of the conversation. And it leads to a greater understanding. You actually have a greater self-awareness. You have more empathy. You're able to get along with more people because of the things that you have done. So again, navigating multiple interests is a benefit. It is not a crutch. It's not something that should be shied away from. I think about it as being something that can lead to more variety, more fun, more excitement. I don't want to be bored in what it is that I'm doing. That's not why I have these skills or talents or abilities. And it gives you the ability to control your destiny in a lot more ways because you have done a lot with a lot. You know a lot about a lot. So not only are we going to talk about the research and the technical side, but here's where these strategies come in. Because when we're thinking about navigating multiple interests, you got to know what to do. And again, with this bite-sized weekly podcast, you are going to walk away with some real strategies, with some real aha moments. So as you are maintaining your peace and staying organized and all the things and learning how to navigate this life, here are 5 strategies for you. Number 1, you have to prioritize with a purpose. We have a lot of things. Again, I talked about having a lot of tabs open, literally and figuratively, but it is about prioritizing what is important now, what's important next, what is important later, and being able to look at that visually so that you know what it is that you are putting your energy towards. And I'll come back to that one because the real life hack of the week is coming from that prioritization tip. Second strategy, time blocking like a pro. When you are navigating a life with multiple interests, talents, skills, and abilities, and sometimes even careers, your time is stretched pretty thin. You might look up and say, man, 24 hours is not enough time for me to get done what I need to get done. So how are you scheduling your time? In a later episode, I am going to share one of my favorite time management techniques, and it's called the Pomodoro method. Yes, Pomodoro is a tomato. I'll have to tell you a little bit more about where that comes from, but that's one of my favorite ones because I use it regularly to chunk out and block off my time so that I'm not working on one task for 5 hours. I may work on it for 20 minutes, set a timer. I can move on to something else. I'm able to increase my efficiency. That's what we're doing. Third strategy, we have 2 more after this, is to set boundaries and say no without the guilt. Newsflash, the hardest person that you will have to set a boundary with, the most challenging person you will have to say no to is yourself. It is not going to be your spouse, your significant other, your boss, your supervisor, even your child, your family. It is going to be yourself. And that is a really difficult thing to do sometimes because when you are living a life with multiple interests, passions, skills, talents, you are stretched pretty thin. And sometimes you may want to take on more things than you really have space for at the moment. It doesn't mean you have to do it now, and it doesn't mean you can never do it. It does mean that it doesn't have to happen at the moment. So look yourself in the mirror and say, not right now. I'm not able to make this happen right now. Maybe this opportunity isn't meant for this moment. Maybe saying yes will even leave you drained. And again, we've all heard all money ain't good money. It's very, very true. If you suspect that it's not a good lane for you to go down, honey, you can pull over, you can stop the car, and you can go in a different direction. The fourth strategy for how to navigate a life with multiple interests is to really automate and to systemize some things. And I've always been a little bit wary of systemizing and automating too many things in my life. But one of the ways that I do it like a pro is with my calendar. I use Google Calendar like it's nobody's business. I have one shared with my husband for family events and things. I have one personally. I have one for business. I put on there what needs to happen. And my friends know, girl, if it does not happen on the calendar, if I didn't put it on there, sorry, it's not going to happen. I have to put on there, call so-and-so, hang out with so-and-so, follow up with so-and-so, email this one, because I've got all these tabs open. I need to be able to make sense of it. And that's how I navigate my life as a multi-hyphenate. And even think about people who are content creators. We all know that you can automate and you can schedule your social media posts to go out on a particular day and time. You can even automate your email responses. You have these apps that you can put on where you can say, hey, comment here, and it'll send somebody a link to something. So doing those things to help you to not have to stay in it all the time, but you're in it, but you're not really in it. And then the last strategy for this one is to schedule some rest. Now, some people, that's a little bit easier than not. And maybe your rest looks like having a late start to your morning. Maybe it looks like going to bed early. That's where I thrive, is I will go to bed early. Okay. Everybody knows. Don't call me after 9 unless it's a true emergency. And then even then you should really call 911 because I'm not going to get to you fast enough. But schedule your rest and your time to recharge, because as you're thinking about all of these things, you need time to plug back into who you are. So consider that. All right. As you are navigating life with multiple interests that you need to prioritize very purposefully, use your time block, really schedule down and set boundaries and saying no, starting with yourself. Okay. Automate the things that you can, use your calendar, and then schedule in that rest. Each week, I want to share with you a quote, and I'm going to find a quote that relates to this one. And this one comes from the good old Oprah. And she says, you can have it all, just not at once. And that's very true. It means you can have it, but maybe not all at one time. Okay. And this really speaks to how we're pacing ourselves, because we want to be able to run the race. We don't want to have to burn out with this race, living as a multi-hyphenate. And then finally, for the multi-hyphenate move of the week, this is something for you to try. So I talked about in that prioritizing. One strategy is using this now, next, or later method. You can literally brain dump the things that you have to get accomplished in the next 7 days, and then looking at them and putting them in 3 different buckets. What am I focusing on now? What am I focusing on next? And that is further out from 7 days. And then what am I focusing on later? And for those things that you identify as being now I'm focusing on them, add those to your calendar and then say, okay, I got to make this call. I got to send this email. I got to do this follow up. And that could help. Some people, again, may use a weekly calendar and write everything out. I do it in both ways. And yes, it takes time. And as a multi-hyphenate, you may not feel like you always have the time, but if you use the time on the front end wisely, it can help things to flow a bit more smoothly for your week with all of the different areas that you are pulled in. So there we go. These small steps can equal some big progress. So try this out. And I am committed to trying this out. And this is our challenge. Okay. So we're going to do this together. It's not about perfection, but it is about progress. So thank you very, very much for tuning into this week's episode of Confessions of a Multi-Hyphenate. I do challenge and encourage you to implement the tip, because it's going to help you to increase your efficiency and to stay inspired. So again, it's not about perfection. It is about progress. And I'll see you next week. Oh, but before you go, please subscribe to the podcast. All right. Leave a review, hit those stars. Let me know what you think about it. Share it with somebody and continue to live this life. So see you next week.